Alright, welcome back to another NihongoGamer video, an episode of While I'm Driving. Just a short video, just to chat about one of our favorite topics on the channel, which is fighting games. But not just fighting games in general, but fighting games in 2021. When I recently got back into fighting games, which was like 2017, like Street Fighter V was just getting back on its feet after a bit of a weird launch. And then like a million games came out at the same time. It was Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, we had Soul Calibur 7? 6? I don't know what number. Samurai Showdown came out, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Dragon Ball Fighters. It was like 2018 and 2017, well 2018 mostly, was like a ridiculous year for fighting games. But the thing is, I don't think it was gonna be, like, even though I think I enjoyed it a lot, I don't think 2018 will be as important as 2021. And the reason is, 2018 gave us a lot of new games, like sequels to old games and fighting games for franchises that hadn't had fighting games before. But unfortunately, even though rollback netcode had been invented many years before, almost all of them launched with just standard delay-based netcode. It's not, ideal to have a pandemic, but as a result of the pandemic especially, you can see how Japan really took on board the importance of putting rollback netcode, or rather just good netcode, into their fighting games. And so with 2021, we've got 3 new fighting games out. We got Guilty Gear Strive, we got Melty Blood, Type Lumina. Man, look at this scenery. I love this curve especially. We got Melty Blood, Type Lumina, we got Guilty Gear Strive, and the third one has just come out, or is coming out soon, is King of Fighters 15. All releasing with rollback netcode. And the best thing about rollback netcode is that it's not really a feature that you're supposed to notice. It's just there, and you can finally just enjoy the game, which is one of the things about King of Fighters 14, which was difficult. It's like, I actually liked the game. It didn't look as pretty as previous King of Fighters games, but it was actually quite a lot of fun to play. The netcode just kind of let it down. It's like, this is a game I really want to enjoy online, or just in general, and it's difficult because of the pandemic, among other things. And wow, 2021 delivering us Strive, Type Lumina, we've got the open beta for King of Fighters 15, and soon, next year in 2022, the full release of the game. And then there's going to be more fighting games coming after that. We've got the DNF, I think it's called Dungeon and Fighter, DNF Duel. Looking forward to that, and I'm sure there's plenty more other titles that I've forgotten. And I think that after the arcade era kind of disappeared, because it's difficult to get people, it's difficult to convince people to put money in a machine and play a fighting game for $1 every single time. And then you can't even play a full set. In Street Fighter V, you put $1 in. If you lose, you have to put another $1 in just to play another round of the set. And then if it becomes a 3-round set, it's just like you're spending quite a lot of money, and unless you're amazing, you always win. So I feel like there was a teething period for fighting games coming out of the arcade era, which weirdly enough still kind of is not, I don't know if it's strong, but it does still exist in Japan. But with the push forced by the pandemic, it's like, well, okay, if we want to sell these games, we've got to make sure that foreigners are happy. And as a result, it just means the online play experience has just got so much better. And so really, it's just a short video to say, man, 2021, it's a good time to be a fighting gamer. Not only are we getting new games, lots of old games are getting retrofitted with good netcode, but we got awesome controllers. I mean, I've just been getting into these all-button controllers, and I've got the original Hitbox arcade company's controller. There's also the Snackbox Micro. There's also ones that you can just build entirely yourself as DIY. There's also the Empress, made by Paradise Arcade. I've seen screenshots of the Ergo Box. I think that looks intense because, I don't think that's how I would want to hold my controller, but clearly for people who, the keyboard is kind of stance for their wrists, if it's not working out, there's a controller for them. There's just so much cool stuff out there, and it's not just like a cool, amazing new feature is out and, the next new thing, finally, a new kind of max mode or super ultra duper climax moves. That's not what it's all about. It's like, let's just enjoy the games and for what they actually have the potential to be. And fortunately, the main feature that's making that happen is companies putting rollback netcode in their game, which means that we can finally enjoy all the potential that the game had to offer, you know, from the arcade days, but finally in a setting which is modern, you know, sitting at home on the internet. And what's awesome about rollback netcode is that, of course, there are limits with the speed of internet. There's always going to be some amount of delay because of the speed of light. Even if you've got a fiber optic connection, you've got to deal with the speed of light. But with rollback netcode, it just understands that in a fighting game, like 80% of the time, after you've pressed a button, you're committed to an action. There's nothing else that you could actually do because you're forced to do the thing that, you know, you pressed your button for. And so it can take advantage of all those times when actually inputs can't come into the game to mask the delay to the point that it basically feels like there is no delay. It's actually amazing. And one thing that's kind of funny is, like, the first time you hear about fighting games, you're like, the reaction times of the human being slow. You know, it takes you a certain number of frames before you can even notice. Like, overheads take you, like, what, 12 to 16 frames before you can actually react to them. Fortunately, I mean, basically, if it's under 16 frames, it's like, it gets quite difficult to react to things. And 16 frames times, you know, 16 milliseconds each, it's actually quite a lot of milliseconds that you get to use to disguise the lag of the internet when you're playing online. I'm just so happy with the state that fighting games are in now. I think fighting games are in a good place. We got the good netcode, we've got good games coming out, we've got games coming out for franchises that look amazing. I know nothing about DNF Duel, but I saw the trailer the other day. It looks incredible. Oh my god, I didn't even tell you about, didn't even talk about Project L, which looks phenomenal. It looks like, I mean, this is kind of mean because I'm sure they've put a lot of work into it, but it looks like Borderlands to me, which in my opinion is a good thing, because, but I think there's a lot of subtleties that we didn't get to see in the trailer that goes a little deeper than just, it looks a bit like Borderlands, but I really like the cel-shaded look. I think it looks great. The game looks fun as heck, and, you know, now that we've had a teething session with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, I think people are going to be more on board with the concept of one-button specials. Again, I like motion moves, and I don't think they'll ever disappear. I think motion and technical inputs will disappear for a time, maybe a few years, because people will be like, okay, it's more important to just get new people on board into fighting games. But I think technical motions will come back, absolutely. It's just such an awesome way to interact with your game that gives you so much, I don't know if the word is immersion, but you really feel like you're linked to the game. It's a bit like driving a manual car. You really feel like you're linked to every single thing that is happening in the game, as opposed to, I pressed the magic button and something cool happened. I think fighting games are in an ecstatically, I don't think that's the right description. I think fighting games are in a fantastic position right now. And not just in a good position, but an exciting position. Because with Riot, and a franchise as popular as League of Legends, it's definitely going to bring in a huge, large group of people who have not really played fighting games before. They've seen them, but never really been, like, they're kind of afraid to get into them. But, you know, that's what the power of good characters is. You know, even if a game is difficult, if it's got characters that you like, you're like, okay, well, it might be difficult, but I'll have a go because it's worth it. I like those characters. Just like, I think there's a lot of games that I play where I don't even think the mechanics are especially good, but I like the characters, so it's worth playing the game. I think it's exciting. I think a lot of people are going to be jumping on board, and it's just such an exciting time in 2021. And, you know, I'm so excited because the next big game to come out is King of Fighters 15, rollback netcode, and it feels pretty accessible to me from what I've played in the beta test so far. So I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, that's all for this NihongoGamer video. Remember to leave a comment. How do you feel about fighting games in 2021? Are you looking forward to the future? And do you think this is kind of like the best time for fighting games? I think it's like 2018 looks like it was the best time for fighting games, but really 2021 is when it's really going to happen. That's when it really feels like it's working out. Things are working out. I'm excited. I'll see you all in the next NihongoGamer video.